Gentlemen, the time has come once again to discuss things.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentlemen. I'm Sid Part 2, joining me today is...
A geek for fun.
Indeed, and we're continuing our fan film reviews. What are we reviewing this week, Alfie?
Today we are reviewing a Zatanna fan film, aptly named Zatanna.
Yes, this is by 15 studios. That's a lot of studios. I made that joke last week too. And you know what? I'm gonna stick with it. I'm proud of that joke. It's funny because Zatanna's a character who I've been honestly looking for a fan film for a really long time. I've never really found anything significant to do, and so I was kind of surprised to see this. And you know, it's a year old, and it's really flown under the radar. It's only got like 6,000 views. So I was really curious about it. And it is kind of a crime this is so underviewed, man. Like, this is very high production level kind of fan film. There are much more, like, shoddy, you know, kind of crummy looking fan films that have way more respect on their name than this one does. And it's kind of disappointing.
Yeah, I agree with that. The way this is shot and the level of acting quality here, and the little, even what little we get of the special effects and stuff is of a really high quality for a fan film production. So I was surprised as well by the views it got. It definitely deserves more recognition on that front alone. Yeah,
I mean, like it really, I'd say it's probably right on par with like that CW television series level of quality stuff. I think they're smart to know when to bother using effects and know when not to, and they don't get really showy with it, where it's like really you know, super up close and really complicated. It's just a lot of like barriers and like smoke and like lightning surges and stuff. There's no like summoning a giant 3D troll or anything like that. It really works. It's pretty smart. I'm a little of two minds on it, because it obviously plays things just very straightforward, and I think that's a solid choice. And its story is certainly going for more of a much more serious, much more somber kind of thing. Zatanna's trying to rescue her father from hell or from a demon or whatever. So there's very little room for like any lightheartedness, but I do think there's a little something lost with the Zatanna's character premise when you lean this hard into that horror angle and don't kind of like, there's that showmanship level of stuff to Zatanna as a character that I do kind of feel gets a little missed with this gritty of an interpretation. I like to see Zatanna do like her stage magic stuff as well as her magic stuff, and so I'm a little disappointed there's like literally none of that in here.
Yeah, that is probably the thing to me that stands out as a negative, and I'm not anywhere near as familiar with the character as you are. I've got a very bare minimum knowledge of Zatanna. I haven't read any of the solo stuff. I've only seen her in other people's books and stuff like Seven Soldiers. But I like the character, and I think the character is a neat premise and has got a lot going for it, and just in terms of like the stage magician who actually is a magician, but also like her job is stage magic. I think that's a very neat premise. And I do agree that when you kind of strip that away and you just lean hard into the gritty demon magic, it's competently done, but there is a question for if you're naming the movie Zatanna and you're basically just telling a Raven story at this point, why what about this could only have been done with a Zatanna? Like at this point, it would actually be more in your interest, in my opinion, to just do an original short film, because then you can monetize it. If you're not going to lean as... Because even with like the design or the outfits, Zatanna's got a very iconic look. So again, and obviously Constantine shows up in this, and there's references to like the DC universe as a whole, but they are very minimal, and they could easily be changed in an edit or a short like script change. Like it's not integral to the piece on that aspect. So I would just be curious to the decision why to do that. When you're adapting a character, obviously you can make changes to stuff, and it doesn't have to adhere 100% to the books, nor should it. But I am kind of interested in the methodology. Right, so if you pick this character who is known for this thing very specifically, and you don't do that, I do have to ask, like, why?
I mean, I think, in all fairness, that Zatanna has a bit of that dual, like, conflicting identity, even in comics, even in the source material. Like, her stage magician costume isn't even really her proper DC Universe design anymore. As recently as Justice League Dark, she's got like a pigtails and trench coat kind of look going. She doesn't really have like the hat anymore or anything like that. And a lot of things with Zatanna do just lean more toward this direction. It's funny to keep bringing up CW, because kind of the feel I got for this was kind of like Smallville a little bit, where like it's getting as close as you can to doing Superman without like putting on the cape and the trunks and stuff, as far as just like the style of storytelling and everything.
No flights, no tights.
Yeah, like that kind of thing. And that's kind of how I feel about like the direction that this is going. And it's certainly not the direction I prefer, but it's not an invalid or unfair direction. Your point about like, oh, you could make like other stuff, it could be just an original film, and you could probably monetize it. Yeah, maybe. It seems that like this channel, I just went and looked through their stuff. It seems they mostly have like a lot of trailers and other like short films and stuff in here that they've cut. So they certainly aren't afraid of doing original material, it appears. This seems like maybe more of a passion project that got released, or maybe like, hope that putting this out could get some traction for the channel or something. That's certainly...
Yeah, because the name recognition does help a lot.
Yeah, name recognition of a fan project helps a lot. And it's, again, I don't think that it's a choice I could fault them for. It's not the one I would make. It's not the one I'd prefer. Certainly when I was looking for a Zatanna fan film, I was hoping for, the stage magic kind of thing. But I don't think it's an invalid direction. I think there's certainly precedent for it. And what's done is pretty good. This is part of Zatanna's, history now that her father sacrificed himself or got like trapped in hell. I know as recently as Mystic U, she was doing a stage performance with him, and she was like pissed off at him at the time, and she says go to hell backwards, not realizing that she's actually magic and that he's actually magic. And so since she thought that was just like a gimmick that her dad had as a stage magician, she says go to hell backwards, and it actually opens a portal to hell, and he gets like sent there. So like that kind of like dark, I've got to save my father, or my father sacrificed himself to save everyone, and I've got to try to bring him back. That's been going for quite a while. I know that was part of her plot in Seven Soldiers was trying to get her father back. And so it's a perfectly valid direction, and I think it works for what it's doing. I think that milks and gets drama out of it, it works. It creates a natural motivation to the character. I like the way that it peppers in, Constantine and your Madame Xanadu and stuff. I thought that was pretty cool. And you even get a little bit of that, like, DC magical universe flavor where there's just, like, there's so many people that John Constantine knows that just, like, are super into the occult, but present themselves as just a normal everyday person. I don't know if the librarian character is someone actually from the comics or just an original character created for this, but it just shit like that every time. I'm not like super versed in like John Constantine and like the whole of the DC magical universe, but just like so many characters like that exist where they're just hanging out with all the magical things and all the exposition in the world, man.
Mm-hmm. And that's a fun kind of vibe. Is that kind of, I think that has the advantage in a fan film where your budget's limited and your locations are limited. I think leaning into that, like, it looks just like a street outside, which in some things can be very limiting. Like if you're trying to portray like Gotham City or something, like it can make it very hard to buy it because no, that's just a regular street outside the window kind of thing. When you're doing magical secret societies and things you could imagine being there, like the little nooks and crannies of the thing, having such kind of limited production and very not necessarily using sets or anything, just using the world around you, becomes an advantage because it helps sell that feeling that this could be happening right now, like when you wouldn't even know it, because two people conversation in a library could be someone's battle for their soul. Like, that's a great use of working within your limitations to enhance what you've got.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I think the use of Zatanna's powers is pretty good. I mean, I guess I'm like giving them a bit of, I'm assuming they did this because, it's like, it's just the magic words and the generic, like, whatevers. But I'm assuming she's actually speaking backwards there. No idea what she's saying. I did consider turning on subtitles to watch this, but I was too lazy. But like,
that's something I feel. Go ahead, sorry.
I think the presentation of just doing the backwards speak for Zatanna and just doing it completely straight like it's any other magic words you'd see in this kind of thing is pretty well executed and pretty solid to just play that perfectly straight.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's honestly, to me, that I think actually is not necessarily a flaw, but I think that's a limitation with Zatanna as a character.
In other medium, yeah.
Yeah, she's the her gimmick is a comic literature, the gimmick. Like it is something that works when you don't have to, when you control the pace and you can look at the speech bubble and you can literally read it backwards and understand what she's saying is a much easier, and it's why it was built and it's why it's so effective in comics. That's not to say you can't do anything, but I do think the way to do it is like this. We're like, all right, we're never going to be able to get as cool as the comic book thing where you can literally slow down and see it without just explaining. Like if you try that on film, it would just be clunky. So the way to do it is just treat it as if it is just a regular gobbledygook magic word, and then the initiated, who know that's Zatanna's gimmick, will be able to pick up on, okay, so once you actually go, I don't know, pause the film after you've watched it and try and work out what she was saying for each things, to do it.
I think I would be a little more generous to Zatanna in adaptation and say you could do this pretty easily, but I think that you have an added handicap that you have to deal with that the comics don't, and that's you have to keep her to like 2 to 3 words max for what she's saying, because when you get like disappear, this or whatever, like when you get those, if you do it with just like a one word or something, you could probably pick, like, not necessarily right away, but I feel like you'd be able to pick up on it. Whereas this, like, when she does do magic with words, and I was a little disappointed she didn't do it against the demon. She does it against John, but she doesn't do it against the demon where she's speaking backwards. At least not at first. I think if you keep it to just one or two words, it's fine. This, when she's doing, like, the incantation, it's like a whole, like, paragraph, and just, at that point, it is completely incomprehensible unless, like, you turn on subtitles or yeah, like you said, pause the thing and go back. Cool. Good talk.
Yeah, I mean, but that, again, yeah, it's just one of those things where it's kind of inherent to the character, and that is the thing that sticks out to me is the use of the name Zatanna. That is something where I think that becomes kind of a challenge if you're using the character's name up front and you've got only a limited amount of time. It better kind of be a character piece, and this is we do get to see, from what I'm gathering, a younger version of the Zatanna, kind of figuring herself out and still learning things, and not quite the level she will be. At least is the implication I'm getting from, like, the actress's age and how the plays out with her learning stuff and going to different mental figures throughout the film and thing. And I think that makes sense for an introductory thing, and maybe as a reason for why the stage magic thing isn't here quite yet. I also think the idea of having that be kind of linked towards, we start with, like, a therapy session, a group therapy session, then it gets turned into a demon, and the subtext is that the real thing here isn't just looking for her father, it's kind of the damage that's left, and searching for different guidance figures, and Constantine himself kind of being, again, it's a very short period of time, so you're going to get really a lot of meat on it, but, like, Constantine here is clearly set up as, like, a surrogate father figure, trying to make that kind of thing that she's lost and trying to desperately get back, maybe too much to put in extent with, like, the demons and stuff. And I think that's all very well served and very thing. Again, the runtime here doesn't really allow, at least the way the story is structured, for that to really hit, especially because we end on a cliffhanger, we don't resolve that, which I do think is a mistake. Because with fan films specifically, to me, that's always a sign of, all right, this is never getting finished. Like, I know that's mean, but, like, it's just true. It's just like that, and if it is getting continued, it's not going to be with the same actors, or it's going to be like it's always a thing with that. And I feel like I get the temptation, I really do, of bringing in different things and building up over time, and knowing that, oh, well, maybe you can't end the story the way you'd want to with the budget that help would require. So you just end it on a cliffhanger and let the audience decide the thing. But to me, I feel like if you're using this as a hobby, and you're investing so much time with actors and all these kind of things, and you're so much work put into the thing, to leave it incomplete like that, I think is a mistake. And I think that's something that you can still tell a complete story in 20 minutes. Like, just
it's absolutely possible to tell a complete story in 20 minutes. 100%.
So I don't think it's a case of not being able to get all your ideas in one thing. It's just kind of a reluctance to focus and really deliver on a specific premise. And again, this is to say what's here isn't bad, but it is a lot of setup for something we're never going to see, I'm assuming, because it's been a year since this came out.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's been a year. There's no implication that there's anything else. Like, I didn't go through the comments to read if they're still working on it, but yeah, that's how these tend to go, is, you know, you get the resources together, you get everything done, and it's like, yeah, and we're going to come back and we're going to do another one. Like, are you, though? Especially with this not really, unfortunately not taking off for him, and I do think this deserves more views, but yeah, I mean, it is a bit disappointing that it ends on a cliffhanger, and yeah, realistically, I don't know if we're gonna get another one. Person that made it, if you're watching and you're vehemently working away at another one and everything, please let me know. I'd definitely be excited. I've subscribed because I do want to see it if another one comes out. But yeah, it might not. I don't know. I tend to take the longer view of these things. I've waited 3 years between episodes of a fan film, Alfie. So
yeah, well, that's because you'll build up stronger stuff than I could. So
yeah, exactly. I'm glad to hear you finally acknowledge it. No, but like I'm just more used to fan projects that take a while to come out between each other. But yeah, I do tend to agree that when you're doing a fan thing, it is better to just leave it all on the table. Just assume this is all you're going to be able to do. Get it all out at once, because planning a 2, 3, 4 part epic or whatever, it doesn't always go well, and more often than not it doesn't go well, but I mean, it's of course their choice, and if they're working on something, then I'd be happy to do a follow-up review whenever that one comes out, because I did really enjoy this. I always sit there and wonder, like, it's always the little stuff for me about, like, just production values that kind of puts a fan film over the top for me in a way. And I always wonder when I see stuff like this, like with all the sky footage and stuff, I'm like, so did they get stock footage or did they use a drone? Like, it's gotten to the point where, like, if I'd seen that, even more than 10 years ago now at this point, but, like, if I'd seen that a number of years ago, I'd be like, oh man, that was good use of stock footage right there. But now with all the drones out and about, I'm like, I wonder. I'm really left, thinking about it. So it's just one of those things. So I'm impressed by the integration of that. Again, like we talked about, the special effects are pretty good. The voice work, I'm pretty sure this was all dubbed in after the fact, but it's really, really smooth, and I have a really hard time telling if it necessarily was or not. So that's, kudos for that. It's a really solid piece on its own. A lot of these fan films are, of course, like the film school student or what have you, kind of flexing their muscles and showing everything that they're capable of, and this really is a very competent, very capable, put together thing, and so I'm impressed by that. Yeah, I don't know. I found myself pretty entertained, pretty enjoyed all the way through. I was really surprised by the cliffhanger. I really thought that it was gonna cut to, because, like, there's a good amount of time left before the credits come up, where I'm like, well, I mean, maybe you could still probably wrap this up if you do, like, just like a dark room where there's Zatanna, and it becomes like a thing of him telling her, no, you're a fool. What father would want his daughter to go to hell to save him? Like that kind of interaction, and then maybe they work together to get out or something. Something along those lines seems like it'd be perfectly doable in just a few minutes to wrap the film up with. So I was a little bit surprised that it ended on a cliffhanger, because it honestly didn't feel like it needed to. And maybe the planned sequel, whether or not it will come back, or maybe they don't want to make a sequel. Maybe they just wanted to leave it on a cliffhanger just to fuck with you, Alfie.
Yeah, probably. Most things are made that way, with that intent.
Yeah.
Bring me down.
Yeah, I mean, and more power to them. I like it when things are made. I like it when they put "fuck Alfie Taylor" in the credits of movies.
It's very ambitious of them to try.
But I don't know. Like, it's maybe the planned sequel isn't all that long. Like, I don't really know where you go from this. It seems like a pretty direct path to just, you go to the dad, unless they're gonna do like a tour of hell kind of thing, which could be interesting too.
Bring in the Sandman stuff.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
It's one of those things where, like, I feel like that, to me at least, just trying to put my head into what that decision is. To me, it feels more like that's where you do the cliffhanger and you never actually go for it because you don't actually know what to do next for like. Okay, so she goes to hell and either she gets her dad back or she doesn't get her dad back, and like you can do a good little thing with that, but I think there might be a little bit just like, well, hell is out of our. Like, I like your suggestion of just using a dark room, but maybe the other kind of thing is like, well, that's kind of, we've shown little teasers of magic and then we end it in a dark room. That can kind of look kind of, especially if the rest of this is so high production values, and that'd be one of the things where the seams show a little bit more. Than they might want. I think that's, if I was doing that, it would be just a thing I'd take and be like, oh no, that would still work. But some of the people I know could be like, it's a little bit too.
Yeah, it's too budgety. Yeah, I mean, there's like other ways to do like your conceptual hell kind of things where it's not like fire and chaos everywhere, where you just would do something more subdued, like a dead forest or something like that. You can usually get away with stuff like that. It doesn't necessarily. I feel like with the right location scouting and stuff, you could probably do something that'd be sellable from a production level standpoint. I don't think you'd have to break their capabilities. Maybe travel a bit, but I don't think they'd have to break anything that they were showing here to make it work.
You're probably right.
Alright. Well, I don't know, I don't have much else to say about this one. I did thoroughly enjoy it, but it's just one of those things where the negatives are there. I think they're mostly just on a personal taste level. I don't think there's really anything, like, objectively bad about it. I think everything here is, like, when it's at its worst, it's really competent, And so but there's also very little that like really wowed me. I wasn't like super impressed. It didn't like fall in love with anything they were doing necessarily. So this is a bit of a middle of the road one for me, but in a way that is good. I'm impressed with that fan films have kind of reached this level of quality where I kind of feel like I watched an episode of a television series I've never seen before. And so that's cool.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to look at it. This would be a good pilot that has an ad break, but we never get to see the second half.
Yeah, we walked away and it's like, oh man, that's a Zatanna series. I'm really into it. Yeah, I watched the first like half of the one episode. I was like, it was all right.
Yeah, but then like I just decided to have sex, so I didn't get to finish the rest of it. So
all right. I guess we'll go ahead and go into ratings. Alfie, what will you rate this fan film, sir?
Again, I think this was done very well. Very well shot is always a big plus for me with the fan films. Is you don't have to have a lot, but a camera and someone who knows where to put it is probably the thing that screams out to be the most, is kind of a make it or break it thing. So this definitely does make it on that front, so I always have to give the credit to the director and or cameraman if they are separate. A very big applause for that. The acting was strong. I thought the Constantine was convincing, if a little dry compared to how Constantine can normally be. There's still enough there, and it fit the tone for what they're doing. And the Zatanna actress and everyone else involved as well, I think did a good job, but nothing that wowed me, but definitely for fan film quality, very, very plausible and can believe they're real actors or very talented first timers. Plot wise and everything, again, very kind of tropey, but again that's in the source material and it's what they're directly adapting from, as you've explained, so I can't really fault it for that, and I think it's done well and I think it's completely handled. So yeah, short and sweet, good time, but outside of that, not really much under the hood to talk about. So let's just be nice and I'll give it 4 out of 5. Lack of rabbits.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much in the same camp with you. Like, I don't love a lot of the decisions here, so there's very little that like really blew me away. But I saw the direction that it was going in, and it's a solid presentation in that regard. So I'll give this as well 4 out of 5. Really badass ladies in suits. That demon lady shows up and she's got a fucking look, man.
Simp part 2 over here.
Simp part 2 indeed. I don't know, man. She's got like the cool haircut and she's got the tats and she's just fucking rocking that pantsuit, dude.
It's about to be like, hey, can I go to hell real quick?
Yeah, I mean, I can save her.
Sorry, smokestack.
Alrighty. Alfie, what are we going to be talking about next time, man?
Alright, next time we are talking about a Superman fan film that is apparently award-winning called The Day Hope Died.
Ooh, okay. Let me see here. Let me make sure. Superman: The Day Hope Died?
Yeah, let me just send you the link. Ooh.
You beat my typing. You monster. Okay, yep. Never seen this one. Alright. Just wanted to make sure. Sounds good. Alright, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, I'm the Philosopher.
And I am the champion of the oppressed.
And we're your geeky gentlemen. And we will be discussing things.